16, and that is Valentine's Day. Happy Valentine's Day, everybody, and a chilly day here in southern Florida, although I'm not complaining. What's happening in several other parts of the country, we're really blessed here.
Yeah, we're really blessed. Cool for us here, but we don't want to talk too much about the temperature because all those people suffering up there. But we do have sunny skies, a fast main track, and a turf course today. We'll get some nice jackpot guarantees today in the Rainbow Six. We've got a 12-race card today, so the Rainbow Six starts in race number 7. $50,000 guaranteed in that pool. Also $50,000 guaranteed in our Pick 5 pool, which starts in the next race, both Saturdays and Sundays during the month of February here. Races 8 to 12 with a 12-race card, and a $100,000 guarantee in the late Pick 4, and that starts in race number 9 today. I guess this cool weather is affecting my voice a little bit in here. Some people will be glad about that. And don't forget, Monday this week, President's Day, a special day of racing with a 1 p.m. post. You see it over there, President's Day, February 16th.
Phew. We got all that covered, and we do have a lot happening here today, and a really great card. We have 2 stakes and a graded stake in the 11th here today, but let's kick off with the first. We do have a 12-race card here today, and the first race kicks off with a 6250 claiming event, and it is 1 1/16 on the main track. We do have a jockey change in number 6, and that is Jose Caraballo. Now, just to make a quick comment, and everybody will notice, Luca Panici will not be aboard on his mounts today, Ron, and he was in an incident the other day.
Yeah, he was up at Palmettos. He fell off a horse, but he's okay. I mean, he's just, got some injuries and should be back soon, but he will not be riding today for, he's got about 4 or 5, he had about 4 or 5 mounts today. So we'll give you those jockey changes throughout the race, and if not, when Larry Comas comes on, a track announcer, he'll update you on everything you need to have a fun and winning day here today. A fun and winning day. I like it. So hopefully we're going to kick off that fun and winning day in the first race here. And I went with the number 1, Afleet Accompli. This is a 4-year-old gelding by Afleet Alex. He shows recent works. Ron, I think this gelding lays over the field. I think he really stands out, and it's his race to lose. Yeah, I agree totally. The barn 31% with new claims. We're talking about George Navarro, so it looks like all the things you need in there. Currently on the board at 8 to 5. You see, very early in the wagering, the number 10 horse taking some money, and that's Racamaro, getting some needed class relief. Failed to show much. That was against Better. Was 6 consecutive races on the turf, so you don't really know how this horse is going to handle it. Big drop in competition, but the red flag sort of be raising up there. I agree with you. I think the one of Fleet Accompli is the one to beat, and we both had the number 2 Ludicrous Speed on our ticket. Easy for you to say. Yeah. Ludicrous. On to the second race on the card. It is a 20,000 claiming event. It is 1 1/8 on the turf course. And now this kicks off the early Pick 4. And we do have a couple scratches from the also eligibles, 11 and 12. And Ron, I went with number 10 in here, and that is Classy Kid. And from the Mark Frostad barn. And Mark hasn't had all that many horses run so far, or thus far at this meet. Javier Castellano getting aboard, who was aboard last time, and now this horse's best races are on the synthetic, although I do think that the turf has run some pretty good ones also on the turf. Yeah, he didn't run badly in his first race here after chipping in from Woodbine. He ran 8th that day, but I thought it was a pretty good performance. He made a decent middle move, so he should move forward. But I did go with the number 9 in there, and that is Broadway's End, dropping to the $20,000 2 lifetime level after returning from a layoff to set the pace a week, which should prove to be, I really think, a stamina-enhancing outing against entry-level allowance runners. The trainer is Dale Romans. Edgar Prado in the saddle. I used the 4 Rich Daddy in second, and the number 10 horse that you used, Classy Kid, in third. I do think Broadway Zen is the one to beat in that particular race, but sometimes we have to try to take a shot in here. On to the third race on the card. It is a 6250 claiming event, 6 furlongs on the main track, and a jockey change. Number 6, Dreaming of Pete, will be ridden by Jose Caraballo.
and my top selection. It looks like we're pretty much in agreement here on number 8, and that's DNA approved, and likely going to be showing speed. And I'm hoping that now on that cutback we'll be able to carry his speed a little bit further here.
Yeah, you see that turn back to 6 furlongs. He showed that speed in 3 consecutive races at a mile. The trainer is Dan Peet. He keeps it light. He's got apprentice Eric Rodriguez in the saddle. We both have the 2. My Uncle Charlie, I got it in second. Christina's got it in third. A move to the Louis Ramirez barn, be it a claim. And Happy Harvey's hoping for a clean start. He got bumped at the break prior to rallying to finish third at this same level and distance. So I think with a cleaner break, he'll be somewhere on the ticket.
Looking on to the 4th race on the card, and is 6250 claiming event, 6 furlongs on the main track. And my top selection, Ron, I think this race is it's interesting in that there seems to be a lot of speed in here, at least on the face of it. And I did go with number 3, Pearl of a Girl. She's probably going to settle in a stalking position. She did take money in both of her previous starts, and she actually won a couple of starts back. And again, one of the big reasons is not only do we know she can win over this track, she can win at this distance. I like her style in this race.
Yeah, she's going to sit a nice strip in there. I got her in second for the reasons you mentioned, but I put the number 4, and you did not use on your ticket, and that's this Key Home. An impressive winner at this level of distance back on December 7th. Exits a pair of $10,000 optional claimers, which she showed speed. Weak and late. It's Larry Pilati's been doing an excellent job. Luis Saez in the saddle. So I used that horse. I think this might be the speed in the race. So number 3, Pearl of a Girl, for the reasons you mentioned. We both have this 6. Double Desert gets the services of leading jockey Javier Castellano, hoping that sparked that wake-up call, and boy, does he do a good job doing that. Yeah. Some horses he rides, you say, well, I don't think this horse fits in here.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I used number 1, that's Greek Life, and I thought that this one might be showing some speed as well from the rail and also on the drop. So, and that's why I didn't have number 4, but it'll be interesting to see how that race plays out, and it sets it up maybe for a closer. On to the 5th race on today's card, and it is a maiden special weight, and it is 1 1/8 on the main track, and it kicks off a pick 4.
A pick 4?
Yeah,
yes, this is a mid-pick 4
Or mid-pick 4. I give
mid-pick 4. We got 3 pick 4s with a 12-race card. So we got the early, the mid, and we mentioned earlier the late one gets that $100,000 guarantee. But you'll see throughout the day, most of these will have way over $100,000 in them, especially the early ones with this nice sequence of races that we have here.
Well, speaking of that nice sequence, let's start with a look back at my top selection in here, and that is a Gold Shield. And this is a 3-year-old colt by Medaglia d'Oro. Cost $1 million at the Keelan September sale 2013. Ron, very good reason for that. He's impeccably bred. He's by Medaglia d'Oro, Dream Supreme. She was a grade 1. She actually won 2 grade 1s, and she's actually produced 3 stakes winners, and one of them is Majestic Warrior.
Yeah, you're watching a race here. She gets a little tight in between the horses there, but it wasn't a bad performance for Gold Shield. You'll see her coming down now. The run's pretty good in that race, so I think she's going to move forward. Cost $1 million in there.
But even more importantly, the reason I really zeroed in on that race, the horse that won that day, Frosted, will be running here, I believe, in the Fountain of Youth. We have Aldrin was second. Tradesman, he was a nice horse. He is a nice horse from the Tom Albertrani barn, and he came back and he crossed the wire first here. He was DQ'd. However, these are all really nice horses, and I think this horse, he's going to be with a cleaner trip. I think he should be okay. I'm imagining he might be a little closer up today.
And I think Frosted winning that race was like 3-5 or something like that. That particular day was a big favorite in there. I have that on my ticket too, but I went with the 2 Frenchman Bay, stretching out to 9 furlongs today. Recovered from a bumping incident at the start to finish third behind a horse that is stakes bound, and that's called J.S. Bach. That was its local debut here at 1 16th. The trainer is James Jerkins. He has Rajiv Mirage atop. This is a $360,000 son of Super Saber. This race at 1 1/8, I think that last race sets the 2 up Frenchman Bay perfectly.
Perfect, and I didn't use him. The horse that I think that you didn't use, number 6, Sneaky, I think, River Date, and this is a 3-year-old colt by Pioneer of the Nile. I was just talking about Tradesman that won that race and was DQ'd. If you look in this form, that's the race, and the River Date came out of that race. Again, I think Tradesman's going to be a very nice sort going down the road. And also, of course, we have number 8, Jean Blais from the Todd Pletcher barn. Ran a pretty useful race to me. Quality Road. He was very hot in with his first crop. This mare, she was a winner at 6 furlongs, so she was a sprinter type, although you have to factor in Todd Fletcher, I think, in these types of
Yeah,
races.
no, I just thought it wasn't a bad performance stretching out today. That's 9 furlong distance. I thought he ran a workman-like fourth at that 1 mile, and you mentioned Todd Fletcher, really good with the second start. He's over 20%. He's good with everything. So Jean Blais, I think, has got to be somewhere on your ticket, especially when you're kicking off one of these pick fours in here in this race. I think you got to go a little deep with the horses we mentioned. I think you got to go with 3 or 4 horses just to start your pick four on the winning note.
Yeah, I think you are going to have to use a few in that race. We move on to the 6th race on the card. It is a 50,000 maiden claiming event, a 7.5 furlongs on the turf course. We do have a scratch of number 2, and that is Zippy Zape. I went with number 1, Ron. I think it's a mistake. You didn't include this horse, and that is Ibrique. Kieran McLaughlin getting first-time Lasix. If you go back to that debut, and that was back in September at Belmont Park, finished not far behind a horse named the winner Xandar, but also in 3rd that day. Night Prowler came back, and he's a nice sort as well. Again, first-time Lasix. I'm really keen on this horse. I think that he's in a good spot, and he's dropping for.
Yeah, I might have missed this one because Kieran McLaughlin, excellent with first-time Lasix too. He got some great stats. I did go with the number 8 Sanad, and this is a recent gelding. Is dropping into the $50,000 level after finishing 2nd. That was in the $75,000 maiden race here on December 13th. Wesley Ward, he's 23% with the first-time gelding angle. Rafael Hernandez in the saddle. So I just thought that horse would be an interesting horse, and you did not use the 8 horse in this race.
Rafael Hernandez, they're 29% when he pairs up with Wesley Ward, so you always have to pay attention. I had to cut somebody out at some point. However, I do think that...
Not Chad Brown either. You cut Chad Brown out too there with number 6, Amazon King.
We're taking a shot at Ibrique in the 6th race. We're going to take a short break, and we'll come back, and we'll fight about the 7th race on the card that kicks off the 20-cent Rainbow 6.
Gulfstream Park is one of Florida's top entertainment destinations, mixing restaurants, clubs, a casino, and international boutique shops with world-class racing. In a lavish, sun-drenched setting with the feel of a Mediterranean village, Gulfstream is a leading year-round entertainment and tourist destination and the home of luxury residences in 2014. The Stronach family, owners of Gulfstream Park, is committed to the sport of thoroughbred racing and the grace, spirit, and generosity of the horse.
The Rainbow 6 is back, and it's better than ever. Now with a 20-cent base wager, it will expand the market for the popular bet. And in addition to doubling the base wager, the percentage return for the winners on the day the jackpot isn't hit increases to 70%, with 30% going to the carryover pool for the next program. Gulfstream Park, you got to be here each and every day.
Welcome back to Gulfstream Park, and we're going to have a look at today's 7th race that kicks off the 20-cent Rainbow 6. And Ron, it was hit the other day. A $4 ticket gave over, I think, $130,000?
$133,000, and the guy that had the ticket singled a $100 horse, and he singled the first 4 horses in that sequence, which was amazing. Then had a couple deep, was only a $4 ticket, so it is a great wager. And as we mentioned, we got a $50,000 jackpot guaranteed today to pique your interest, as we should say.
On to the the 7th race is a $35,000 maiden claiming event. It is 5 furlongs on the turf course. There's a jockey change. Number 13 will be ridden by Rodney Sudin. Our top selection.
We're not going to fight this race?
No, we're not going to fight this race. And number 4, and that is Jersey Life. That has nothing to do with the fact that I live in New Jersey and have for several years. Bring the Heat, a 3-year-old daughter by Bring the Heat from the Wesley Ward barn. Look at the owner, one of the owners or the co-owner, Joe Pesci, the actor. Blinkers off for this filly. Now, I've spoken to Wesley before with his 2-year-olds turning 3. Oftentimes, he'll blinkers on at 2. He takes them off at 3 because he wants to get them to relax a little bit and to just to gear down a little bit. And she hasn't raced since June, although I think with the drop, Wesley does a good job bringing them back off a layoff, too.
You know, if we had time, I would do my Joe Pesci imitation from Raging Bull, but we're up against it. We got 12 races in here. Have the 4 Jersey Life on top of my ticket. I used the 12 Starship Tammy in 2nd. This one's 2nd at this level in distance on December 23rd. It's dropping back after dueling for lead and fading to finish 6th, but that was against $75,000 maidens. That was going around 2 turns. 7.5 furlongs is 2 turns here at Gulfstream Park. I just thought Starship, Tammy might run well in there, and I closed it out with Media Savvy, beating the neck on the turf at this level and distance back on December 20th.
I use number 11, and that's Royal Stage. That's a 3-year-old daughter by Shakespeare. El Prado on the bottom side. Already run a couple of times on the turf, and not bad, actually, at Gulfstream Park West back in October. And I think that this filly from the Kathleen O'Connell barn will like the distance. I think that drop back is going, or that I think the distance is going to just suit her just fine, as it did last time in an off the track or off main track event. On to the 8th race. We do have a maiden special weight, 7.5 furlongs on the turf course. We do have a jockey change. Number 7, Fear, will be ridden by Manny Aguilar. And this race kicks off the pick 5. And Ron, I think a very competitive race. I did go with number 6 in here, Arakeel, 3-year-old colt by Tappet. And look at the owner, Shadwell Stable. You don't see that, or I haven't seen that all that often. Shadwell Stable teaming up with Chad Brown. And I actually saw this colt the other day up at Palm Meadows. He's a half to Breakwater Edison. Now, Breakwater Edison was a good graded stakes winner on the dirt. Tappet, you would think he has that versatility, can sire dirt or turf winners. Although August Storm, the dam, it's all grass there.
Yeah, so I did not use her on my ticket. I did use the 6
No, you
on
did,
my
yeah,
ticket.
second.
I did not. You did not use the 1, is what I'm trying to say.
That's what you wanted to say.
Tistown, this one is turning back to 7.5 furlongs after departing from the rail, stalking the pace and finishing 3rd. But that was a pair of maiden special weight turf races going 8 and 9 furlongs respectively. Ian Wilkes, Julien Leparoux in the saddle today. Got the 6, Arigil, even though I didn't think I had it on my ticket. And we both used the number 11. We talked about this horse yesterday. Totsky, who responded to the addition of Lasix, the removal of the blinkers, with a vastly improved 2nd place finish at this level and distance. Josie Carroll, Paco Lopez handling that outside post. I thought this horse can run well in here.
I really like the horse. The only thing I don't like is the post, because 7.5 furlongs, they start right on the turn there. So that was the only thing. But I do think if this horse, as is on the morning line, 12-1, I think we're going to bet she's a half. This colt is a half to 3 stakes winners, and basically they won on every surface you can imagine. So I think that's one. I think that if we can get a price on that one, we want to include that in our exotic wagers. On to the 9th race. It is a 20,000 claiming event. 1 mile and a 16th on the turf course. A couple of scratches, number 11, 15, and there is a jockey change. Number 6 will be ridden by Juan Leyva, and this is the late pick 4.
The late pick 4.
Yeah,
this one has the $100,000 guarantee in it, and we both started our analysis with the number 12, Franklin, in here, stepping up to the next level after responding to a drop in competition, into the condition claiming ranks with a strong $20,000 2-lifetime victory. Mike Maker, he's really good with horses winning back-to-back races. I used the 3, El Chivo Viejo in 2nd, making the 3rd start of its current form cycle. Number 2, Take the Points and Run. Long shot each and every day. This is my long shot. And he wheels back at the same level and distance after angling out at the quarter pole to finish 3rd. Beaten only 4 lengths in that race. Buff Bradley, the trainer, he's almost 20% with horses making the 2nd start back from the layoff. 12-1 on the morning line. Use this horse.
Now, Ron, other than the top horse, we seem to be all over the map in here. So what you're telling us for the late pick 4, that you're going to want to use a few horses.
Yeah, and on my ticket that I put together, I'm using the horses. We have, at least 5 horses in there, with the 2 being my long shot of the day.
I like it. Ronnie's long shots have been running lights out, so definitely one that you're going to want to include on your ticket. On to the 10th race on the card, and this is the Grade 3 Hurricane Birdie, 6.5 furlongs on the main track. We do have a couple of scratches, Ronnie, and number 2 and number 5. Number 5, Wildcat Lily, that came in not so long ago. So it's interesting to see how the race is going to play out now, because we've lost what essentially is the principal speed.
Yeah, I just it was a little shocking. We got that while we just came on the air. The scratch of number 5, Wildcat Lily, makes it to me look like a Merry Meadow can just be tackling the place where it wants and run done very well, stretching out to 6.5 furlongs after victories at 6 furlongs in both the Sky Beauty at Gulfstream Park West and the Grade 3 Sugar Swirl.
Well, I think number one, More Than a Party that you mentioned, I think she's probably going to show some speed, and we're hoping that Mary Meadow might stick with her, or also More Than a Party is proof she could just gallop when she's left unattended on the front end. However, let's take a look at Mary Meadow's most recent race, and in fact, she finished ahead of Wildcat Lily, who scratched out of this race, and Mary Meadow coming into this off of 2 consecutive victories, and as you said, she might have a tactical advantage because she can either show speed or she could take just off and stay maybe just behind More Than a Party if she decides that she wants to go.
Yeah, and a lot of people say, well, it's only a 5-horse field. This is harder to figure out how the horse is going to run than if it's a full field, but still looks like the one to beat in there. More Than a Party, you just mentioned, daughter of More Than Ready, faces graded stakes competition for the first time. Pair of very impressive optional claiming victories, including that recent victory at this 6.5 furlong distance, won by like 4+ lengths. The scratch might help her more than anybody else.
Yep.
And we both added Sontrique in there, and Sontrique just been very impressive lately. Recently.
Well, you were talking about More Than a Party. Let's get back to her for just a second. She actually has a really good record coming up and breaking from the rail.
Right.
You look at her, especially in her last 4 starts, she's broken from the rail 3 times and she's had 3 wins. So it works for her, obviously, because she seems to be an athletic filly that gets a good break. And with Sontrique, Marty Wolfson had said he was actually happy with all the speed that had signed on because he thought that she was going to be able to settle in a nice stalking position, but makes you wonder if she might not be a little more forwardly placed.
Forwardly placed, and she's coming into this race off a 2-race win streak. So in good form, and Marty Wolfson with fillies, never leave them out.
Yeah, exactly right. On to the 11th race on the card, and it is the Cooper City. It is a mile on the turf course. We do have a couple of scratches in there. Number 4, Granny Mac's Kitten, and number 5, A Dream Come True. And my top selection, it didn't change the result, at least for me. I already had, I was going with number 3, and that's I'm Already Sexy from the Wayne Catalano barn. And if you look at her, she hasn't won since last September when she won at Kentucky Downs, but she's a very, very high-class filly. She won the Pucker Up. That's a grade 3 race at Arlington back in 2013. And she always tends to be in the mix. And Ron, if you look at her last race, she came back January 31st. She ran at Tampa. She was 7th. She was just beaten under 3 lengths. I thought it was a very useful return for her. I'm looking for her to step up off of that effort, and also I thought it was a pretty good effort.
Well, I picked number 8. I scratched into number 8, Kitty Wine. Let me tell you that because I had number 4, Granny Mac's Kittens on top of it. So, but let's go back and show you Kitty Wine's last race. I thought this was a really nice performance, and that was in the South Beach here on December 13th. You'll see she's on the inside. She's the number 3, and right now you say things are not looking good for Kitty Wine. She's got really nowhere to go here. The horses, and all of a sudden she finds a seam, and she really comes running here. Now watch, you say, okay, she'll be 4th or 5th here, and then she just explodes and goes right up into there and almost wins the race. I thought it was a fantastic performance. The trainer is Eddie Keneally, and he's got Julian Leperoux in the saddle, and that horse just, I think, 2 jumps past the wire, was in front in there. And I added with the scratch, I also have the number 3, I'm Already Sexy, on my ticket, for all the reasons you mentioned, and I added the 7, Stop Talking Maria, stretching out to a mile, shipped in from Churchill, showed speed, finished 7th, 2nd, going 7.5 furlongs, 2nd start in the Sunshine State. I expect improvement with this horse today. So big scratch in there for me of the number 4, Granny Mac's Kitten.
Kitty Wine, you're mentioning the filly that beat her that day, Mabre Rose from the Christophe Clement. I like her a lot, actually. Right. I think that she's a very nice filly. I did also throw in number 2, and that's Course Gold. From a numbers statistical standpoint, she fits in with this group. She runs pretty good numbers. Last time she came back off of a layoff, didn't have the greatest of starts. Now 5 furlongs seems to be her specialty, but again, the dynamic of the race has changed a little bit with a couple of those scratches. So I'm thinking, if she's going to be showing speed, and maybe she'll be closing in this. If she's got a pace scenario setting up for her, maybe she can close into it.
Yeah, and trained by Mark Hennick, who trains Mary Meadow in the next race, so maybe we can get a daily double with Mark Hennick, as I mentioned, trains Mary Meadow in our feature event of the afternoon.
We look on to the 12th race on the afternoon, and we do have a 7.5 furlong test on the turf. It is a maiden special weight for 3-year-olds, and Ron, we got a pretty. I love these. I love these races because they're just so competitive, and we just have so many ways to go in here. There is a scratch of the number 12 from the also eligible main track only entrant, and my top selection, I did go with number 4, and that is Old Sport. Now, Old Sport is a horse that I'm pretty familiar with. I actually saw the day, I was there the day that he sold at Keeneland, September. That was back in 2013. $425,000 is what they paid for this son of Warfront. He's a half to a stakes winner, although albeit a stakes winner that was sprinting on the dirt. But the Warfront, you would almost be certain, or they tend to run very, very well on the grass. And I like this colt, and I've liked him for a while. I followed him for a while. I know he's pretty good. He had a little bit of a setback in the spring, over the springtime last year, and he's taking a little bit longer to come to hand. But I really like him in here, and I know that he's got some talent.
Well, I picked the number 7 Cold Spice. I want to show you the start Cold Spice had last time out, and this is the reason why. Number 6 here. Watch this now, because it happens very quickly. Ba-boom! Goes right down and just gets shuffled back in there. This one showed promise. I'm talking about Cold Spice on the turf in the 2 starts in Kentucky. Now goes back to the grass. You saw that rough local debut on the dirt. She bobbled at the start. Then after that, she steadied at the 7/8 pole a little later on. She just didn't have a good trip in there. To Son of Tiz now. Javier Castellano rides him back. That gives him a vote of confidence. So Cold Spice, for that reason on my ticket. Got the 2 J-Rock, which you have in your ticket too, is making his career turf debut after an impressive career debut on the dirt, in which he came within a half length of defeating $100,000 maidens at 6 furlongs on the dirt. Eddie Keneally got him firing bullets.
And what do we always say? What's my angle with Eddie Keneally?
Second start.
After in the career second start, especially when they run like that, when they're second and they run a good second in their debut, I always say bet with both hands when it's Eddie Keneally. And poor little Saham, you didn't use him this time. Right. This poor horse has encountered such issues in his last 2 starts. He ran he had a really, really good career debut back in November. Finished behind a nice horse from the Ian Wilkes barn, and that is Gorgeous Bird. Last time, 2 starts back, Ron. All kinds of trouble. A couple of horses went down in that race on December 23rd, so he really lost all chance there. And last time, again, lost the jockey after he ducked. He catches a lot of bad luck.
Well, if he ever gets a chance to run, we'll see, maybe what kind of talent he has. But left him off the ticket this time. But those are the type of horses that can jump up and ruin your super high 5. So you're the horse that looks like he has some ability. I'd add him to the super high 5 ticket.
I agree. I do think that he's got some ability. Very competitive race to close out our 12-race card here today. Our feature today, we have a couple of features. We have the Grade 3 Hurricane Birdie. We also have the Cooper City, so a couple of really competitive stakes here. And we will send you off with a look back at last year's Hurricane Birdie and a tremendous champion, and that was Groupie Doll, who looked...
What a race.
What a race. Looked hopelessly beaten, and she turns on all boosters late, and she got the job done. That was in 2014. So we'll take a look back, and we'll come back later on this afternoon. Stick around, folks. We've got a great one on tap.
Groupie Doll is 5 wide. She's on the far outside. Wildcat Lily is next, and they're into the stretch, and there goes Groupie Doll. And Rajiv Mirage lets her loose one last time, and look at her take off. She was dead last up the backstretch, but Groupie Doll goes out in glory at Gulfstream.
There's a new day dawning in Florida.